I'll go ahead. We're here, there, and we're recording. So now it's official. Thank you. Okay, so our featured presenter will jump on here momentarily. We'll go ahead and get started. So let's do quick introductions. So again, your name, your agency, and then as far as the thought-provoking question for this morning, we are going to doing a little bit of homework this morning on what happened on January 11th in history. In 1569, we had our first official lottery. So my question is if you won the lottery, what would you do? So let's start with Elena. So your agency, your role, and what would you do if you won the lottery?
Okay, I'm from Idaho Housing and Finance. If I won the lottery, I would probably buy a house.
Awesome. Yeah. That's solid. That's safe and solid.
That's the first thing I would do.
Evelyn.
Hi, I'm Evelyn. I'm also from Idaho Housing and Finance Association. I'm their family self-sufficiency specialist. It depends on how much lottery money I win. Let's say if the billions, like people have been, winning, I would definitely pay off my house. I'd probably buy a couple more houses for my family and then maybe donate some to housing issues that we're having up here to help.
Excellent. Let's see here. Let's go with Kaylin. Audio is connecting. We'll come back. Arwen.
My name is Arwen. I'm with Advanced Benefits. I'm also a board member with United Way. And if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell a soul. You'd never know because of all the people that come out of the woodwork. No one would know. But you all would know now because now you know if I won the lottery, I'd buy a Porsche Macan. And so if I come to work in a Porsche Macan, you know something's up.
Excellent. Thanks, Arwen. Chrissy.
Hi, I'm Chrissy. I'm from Department of Health and Welfare in Navigation. If I won the lottery, the first thing I would do is take care of my family and close friends, and then I would open long-term transitional housing for youth that are aging out of foster care.
Love that. Erin.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin Lanigan. I'm with Idaho STEM Ecosystem, specifically STEM Inc. up in the northern two regions there. If I won the lottery, I would pay off my house and bills, things like that. Student loans, help my kids to do the same.
A lot of safe answers, meaning just get rid of debt and, donate. But I haven't heard any like, hey, I'm going to travel the world and jump out of helicopters. Oh, KJ's raring to go. KJ.
I'm KJ Brandt, the Community Resource Coordinator for Idaho Children's Trust Fund. And I would definitely disappear for a little while to remote places in the world. And I already have the nonprofits I love, so I would just up my support to those current ones.
Awesome. Thanks, KJ. Sarah. We'll come back to Sarah. Stephen. So again, anybody that just jumped on, tell us your organization, your role, and the question, thought-provoking question of the morning is, if you won the lottery, what would you do?
I think a lot of people may have excused themselves from being in the lobby. They're going to come back to a surprise.
How about Sherry? Latanya?
Yes, I am on here. This is Latanya. I'm with NIC Head Start. I'm the family service manager here. And if I won the lottery, my safe answer would be pay off my house, but then I would definitely go on some travels for extended periods of time.
What would be your first travel spot?
Depends on the season, but definitely right now it'd be definitely tropical for extended period of time.
Love that. Awesome. Kaylin, I see you're in with audio now.
Yeah, I am. If I won the lottery, I would probably quit my job and travel the world and find a job that I could do like all online so that I could see everything and every possible ancient history that I could possibly find. I
That's
love that
awesome.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Um, who else? Let's see. We've got a couple other people jumping in here. Anybody else want to introduce themselves that jumped on the call that hasn't shared? How about Katie? Katie, so tell us your organization, your role, and then the thought-provoking question of the morning is, if you won the lottery, what would you do?
My name is Katie and I'm the case manager at Idaho Youth Ranch. We work with kids 9 to 24, outpatient therapy for just regular talk therapy. And then we also have an equine therapy here also. If I won $1 million, I would retire and move to a little town outside of Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, because that
Nice.
is actually one of our bucket lists when we do finally retire.
Yeah.
But it would make it a lot sooner.
Sounds like you've already got your plan already ready to go.
We do. We've
Win the
been there.
lottery.
We know where we want to go. And we want to get out of this white stuff.
Agreed.
So
How about Carrie? Carrie from Safe Passage. Your role, we already know your organization, and what would you do if you won the lottery?
I work with Safe Passage program coordinator. If I won the lottery, I would pay off my sister's house so she doesn't have to worry about a mortgage, and her and I would go on a cross-country trip in a motorhome.
Awesome. That'd be fun. A couple people in the chat said they don't have microphone or have other things going on with technology. So last call for introductions. Okay, awesome. So a couple of things related to the first lottery, which was the official first state lottery, which was January 11th, 1569, is it was instigated by Queen Elizabeth, who was wanting cash to repair ships, harbors, and boost trade. But one of the things that I thought was interesting was that the lottery had an equivalent of a get out of jail free card. So for a week, everybody who bought a ticket was immune from arrest from any committed crimes other than piracy or murder or treason. So at least they had, their boundaries. It's like, you guys can do whatever you want, but these three things. So okay, so let's switch gears. I've got James, associate of mine, that is certified with Working Genius, and he's worked with some leadership teams with the Working Genius model. He's worked with some larger teams with the Working Genius, and I thought it would be good because I know every one of you either has a direct team that they work with or a board that they work with, that we're always looking for those areas where we can improve, whether it's just cohesiveness or communication. So with that, James, I'll turn it over to you. And real quick, Nikki, if you're still on the call, can you make James co-host?
I can, hold on.
Awesome.
I think I might be able to share my screen. I clicked the button. It didn't tell me no quite yet. I didn't click the actual share yet, so we'll see if it'll kick me out.
Okay, and James, while we look at that, your turn to answer the million or the lottery question.
I view the lottery and right, some of the financial gurus are like, well, if you just took that money and invested it, you would be a millionaire, things like that. But I also view like playing the lottery as that 20 minutes where you just get to sit there and like envision and like that entertainment part where you're like, what would I do? And so for me, it would be obviously taking care of the family. 2, I would travel. We just had a question this morning about what city I would love to go to, and Osaka, Japan would be probably tops on my list to start and do all the historic. I love ancient Asian culture. from that perspective. But then the thing I think would be unique from my perspective to not be like the other people who win the lottery and run out of money is I would invest in buying boring businesses that just produce cash flow income and live off of that. And so if you ever needed to, you could sell the business, all those kinds of things. So that's if I won the lottery, that's what I would do.
I can tell you've thought about that as well.
I paid my dues, it's my entertainment factor when I do buy the lottery on the rare occasion.
That's awesome. All right, James, it looks like you've been made host, so go ahead and share your screen, and thanks for attending and sharing with us today.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you all for attending here this morning and all the great work that you guys do in that nonprofit space. I personally have a big bleeding heart for nonprofits. I'm part of the core group, part of Kootenai County Young Professionals back in the day. Just joined actually a couple other new boards this coming up year too, so I'm very excited about that. But Chris asked me to share more about the Working Genius model. And this is a little bit of a personal thing for me, where when we took this internally with Advanced Benefits, it just sang to me that I was like, I want to be a facilitator. I want to help other people discover their working genius. And so really start to get into it here, where really there's the reason that this is effective is there are 6 types of working genius. And what that really allows for is it's the simplicity, it's relevant, and it is really fast to learn, because there's only 6 of them that you really have to learn. And everybody has 2 geniuses, 2 competencies, and 2 frustrations. And really the working genius is 20% about personality, but 80% of productivity. If there's ever that time where you're like, hey, I just get lost in doing this part of a project, or hey, I just get really frustrated when I have to do this part of a working project, this is really where the working genius helps you identify where that is on an individual level. But as you can see in this illustration here, we have gears and we have arrows, meaning really in any work process that we have, it's a process that has to work together from start to finish. And there are times where some things might get missed, and that's where some discombobulation may happen. Oops, press the wrong button there. So diving into what the 6 types of working geniuses are and their descriptors here. So we'll start with wonder. So that's kind of the first cog here. So identifies the need for improvement or change, right? So this is the person who's asking the questions, whether internally or externally, of how do we make this better? Then you go to the next one, which is invention, confirms the importance of that need, generates an idea solution. So this is the ideas person, says, I have an idea. Right. Then the next cog is the assesses the merit and workability of the idea. So this is a person who likes to take that idea and kind of poke some holes in it or figure out how it will work. Galvanizing, the next step, generates enthusiasm to action around the idea or solution. So this is what we typically call like the cheerleader of the group, the rah-rah, gets everybody kind of going, excited about this. So the next one is enablement. So initiates the support and assists in the implementation of the idea or solution. So we got some traction here. We got the team kind of moving in the right direction. All the cogs are kind of starting going, enablement's going. And then tenacity is the final and maybe the most important of getting something across that finish line. And so the piece that I like to share here is kind of understanding different parts, right? So if we take that same widget piece that you see there, start with stages of work. So first is the ideation, right? So it starts with an idea of how do we improve in coming up with solutions. Activation, which is kind of that middle part, but also very important in one of the most skipped parts of processes when you're implementing a new idea, solution, anything like that, is how do we make sure that we're making correct decisions, reassessing along the way during that implementation stage. Then the final part, that implementation, is getting things across the finish line. You also see responsive versus disruptive. So, wonder is responding to the environment, whereas invention is being disruptive and coming up with an idea or solution. So see that on that side there. And then the analogy is really kind of landing a plane. So wonder is the person who's 30,000 feet up, their head in the sky, they're kind of overviewing a lot of other things, all the way down to tenacity is that person who is landing the plane, checking that box off, getting things across that finish line. So really how this kind of comes together is two parts. Is first your individual profile. So you take an assessment. That assessment lasts typically less than 10 minutes. It should be just a here's how you feel. With that, you're going to get your two geniuses, your two competencies, and two frustrations. Typically, your two frustrations are pretty easy to point out, right? If you're a tenacity person, it's like, man, for me personally, tenacity is one of my frustrations because my geniuses are wonder and invention. So by the time an idea is going through the process and getting down to implementation mode, my mind is already on kind of that next idea, trying to improve that next thing. But at the same time, we also all have to understand that every job that we all have is what we call a 6-letter job, meaning I can't just say, oh, my frustration's tenacity and put that away and put that on somebody else. There is a team approach that we'll talk about here next, of understanding that maybe that is one of my frustrations. And if that's somebody's genius, to be able to work together to get that thing across the finish line, but also understanding where each one of us are at in that process there. One of the other things that's also very interesting is actually understanding your pairings together. So just knowing that you're an invention and discernment in this example here is great, but there's actually an assessment piece that actually gives you what does that mean as a pairing versus individually just the invention and discernment piece. So where this really starts to come together and where Chris kind of invited me here was the team portion of, you know, we all work on boards, we all working in teams about the different projects that we're on. So being able to come together and learn a common language to say, hey, we're in this meeting and this meeting's about wonder. We're coming up with ideas, solutions of how we can do things better. Or we're in that final stages of implementation. We just need to, you know, get that checklist, prioritize it, and get those final things across the finish line. And so what we're able to do is take a team map here and be able to look at, you know, once everybody does their assessments, understands where people's genius and their frustrations are, we can see if there's any gaps. So in this example here, this team doesn't have any discernment, right? So these are the type of people who are going to ask the questions about, well, have you thought about this outcome? What happens if, you know, there's some unintended consequences of the idea solution that we're putting together, things like that. So there is a gap of the genius there. So that really provides an opportunity for two things. Either we have to specifically address that and kind of make people get their discernment hat on and be really intentional about that. Or if there's somebody else from another team that you can essentially borrow when you're in a discernment type meeting to be able to help pick those, poke those holes in the ideas or solutions that were presented, you're able to bring that in here. The other side of the coin is we have galvanizing. We have a very strong presence on there, right? So there might be an opportunity where we're too overly rally the troops and get everybody kind of going, because that's where a lot of people's geniuses are. The thing with this that I really like to do is have productive meetings. Oh, so that's what I was just sharing, the team gap analysis, right? If we have not enough wonder, too busy to notice things. If we don't have enough discernment, like the last piece, surprises by failures because we didn't fully vet an idea solution during that phase of working there, as you see here. And then tenacity, which is one of the most important things, doesn't finish, fails to complete projects or initiatives here. So one of the biggest pieces that I have that I like to use with using this working genius and as a team is the productive meetings piece right here, right? How many times do we feel like we're in a meeting and we're like, what was the point? Could this have been an email? What was the objective that we're trying to accomplish? And so one of the things is understanding your working genius and your team's working genius is to be able to identify the types of meetings that you're having. And so when we relate back to that elevation slide of wonder and invention kind of being at the top level versus enablement and tenacity being down here at finishing the task, you'll see, hey, brainstorming or offsite, this is really where we're focusing on wonder and invention, making sure that we're putting on those hats, even if that's not our genius, that's the hat that we need to put on. So then if we move to strategic planning, solutions oriented, that's where we're going to start inviting that discernment piece in here to focus on the ideas that we brainstormed in the last meeting. How do we make sure that we're vetting those properly? So then once we've decided to move forward with an idea or a solution, that we have the weekly staff meeting where we're really galvanizing towards that goal that we're working towards. To then lastly, the daily stand-up or the task-oriented type meetings where we say, here's a checklist of things that still need to happen and the priority list of those. And so this is one of those things that I think has been a game changer for us, is being able to identify and say, these are the type of meetings we're having, and these are the hats that you need to have on coming into this meeting. So last, that was a very high level. I know we time-wise a little short here today. So one of the things that we wanted to offer, that if you are interested to learn more about the Working Genius in your own individual assessment, Chris will be following up with a ask for anybody who's interested. I can send out a link to take that assessment so you understand and know your Working Genius assessment there. Any questions or anything somebody would like to review? I kind of blew through that pretty quick, but I know I only had a limited amount of time.
Questions for James? They're all speechless, James. Chrissy?
Easy peasy.
Is this something that you've, like you said, you're a facilitator, so if I were to get the link to the assessment and then be able to share that with my management team, would you be somebody we could contact to facilitate a training? Or
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that was a little bit of a tee up that I missed there. So I do work with typically leadership teams or teams that are trying to improve on how to communicate and work well together, right? So if there's some times where it's like, hey, we just feel like we're missing some of those steps, right? It might be that middle part where you're trying to work through a solution and figure out the vetting stage of it. Or maybe there's times where it's like, hey, this is a really great person, but maybe there's not in a great role, right? If we define some of those roles and what they are from a Working Genius standpoint, and then understand where people are at in their Working Genius, maybe there's an opportunity where it's like, hey, it's a great personality fit, but it's just not the right role for them within the company. So maybe it's an opportunity for them to transition. And so, yes, I do exclusively work, or not exclusively, I do work with teams specifically on understanding and talking through this, so they have the tools and resources to have more productive meetings and a common language across the board.
Yeah, so let's do this. If anybody's interested in taking the assessment, send me a direct email and say I'm interested in the Working Genius. We'll send you assessment. Typically those are, I think, $30 a person. We'll do a no cost for anyone that's in Alice Task Force, but it takes about 15 minutes. You'll get I think it's a 4-page report that tells you your geniuses and your frustrators. And I think it's important to note as well, and I've heard this comment from our team, is all this is a frustration. I can do this, and we say yes, of course you can, and of course you do. But really, what it helps us understand is what are the things that fuel you. So your geniuses that energize you, as well as the frustrations are the thing that just drain you. So you can do them, but they're draining to you. So it's been helpful for our team just to have like James said, a common language that we can work with. And when we go into meetings, we can approach it with that same common language.
And to your point about common languages, Chris, I really appreciate it for when you have to tell people this is not what this meeting is about. So like if I'm in a meeting and we need to talk about semantics of like, okay, we're in the implementation stage. This needs to get across the finish line. And then if James comes in and says, what about this? I can tell him we are out of the invention phase, James. We are in this phase. And so it gives me, I really appreciated how it gives me a way to communicate where it's like, or instead of just saying, shut up, this is terrible, you're messing me up, I can just say, nah, we're not in that phase. And he goes, oh yeah, you're right. So it's really helpful.
James, can you make me host or co-host? I think the power's over to you now. I pretend that I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't when it comes to Zoom.
You are host. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. LinkedIn's also a great way to connect with me as well. So thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks, James. I will share real quick. So Arwen put together this, can everybody see my screen? So it looked like a bunch of photos. Awesome. Okay, I'm on the right one. So Arwen put this together. This is the heat map that James referenced. She definitely did a different approach as far as the visual goes. And so when you work with a Working Genius, they do a heat map. It's not quite as doesn't look this nice, but really we've got how big is the one in our office, Arwen? 3x4? Somebody just told me it was 3x4, so we're gonna go with that. Anyway, that's on a wall where everybody can see this and see really where everybody excels. And so when we're putting together, when we have meetings where we're saying, okay, this is a wonder and invention type of meeting because we're coming up with ideas, we can quickly see that, hey, these are the people that are great at that. Or like James said, if it's like, hey, this team is going to be in the meeting, but we're going to be talking about discernment and galvanizing, then we can let everybody know, here's where we're at. So let's stay out of the wonder in invention, but that's been helpful for us as well. Okay, so let's switch gears. Let's move to our virtual roundtable. Anybody that's a first timer on this call, one of the things that we do on our monthly meetings is we do a roundtable, and really the objective is, hey, we want to hear from you if you've got just an update on maybe some things going on within your organization, or maybe something you're struggling with, or a question you have for the group. Or we love to hear wins. Hey, we had this happen and it was awesome, and it helped with energy within the team. And what's cool is, when somebody poses a question or has a, somewhere where they're high centered and someone says, have you tried this? Or I'll reach out with you after this and I have some ideas for you, and we can solve a lot of issues at hand. So with that in mind, no particular order, I'd love to hear from anyone and everyone on the call. So who would like to start? Thanks, Kaylin.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so my name is Kaylin. I'm with Community Action Partnership, and right now we're in the throes of energy assistance. This time last year, we helped, well, let me put it this way. This year, we've helped over 1,000 more than we have helped last year at this time. So it's just showing the amount of people that are in need of energy assistance this year. Prices have gone up all over the board, and so people are struggling. We have less staff too, so it makes it fun. But we are still available for energy assistance to March. So if you know of anyone who is struggling, we are running a little behind what we normally do, but if they're in an emergency, we do get to them right away. So just send them our way.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Thank you.
Chrissy from Navigation. So we still have our emergency assistance funding. We still have our career enhancement funding. We also it was kind of touch and go for our kinship funding. We weren't sure if we were going to get it, and then we knew we got it, but then we thought there may be more parameters as far as flexibility goes, but turns out it's just as it was before. So that is absolutely wonderful news. With that funding, we can help youth who have aged out of foster care, and that was one thing that we thought was going to go away. We were heartbroken about, so yay, that's a huge win for
Awesome.
us. And I will piggyback off of Kaylin. We are we're busy. Things are definitely have ramped up.
Thank you. Who's next? Somebody help me out.
Sherry shared in the chat.
Thank you.
She's looking forward to working with our community partners.
Excellent.
I'd like to ask, so I'm getting ready to make the Alice Bulletin for the Q1 2024. So does anybody have any like upcoming events or anything that you would want included in that Alice Bulletin? Any like fundraisers for Q1, anything like that?
Who's the Alice Bulletin shared with? Who's the audience?
Chris?
Yeah, so the audience is those that we would consider in the Alice population. So those that are working paycheck to paycheck that are just
Okay.
needing support and guidance.
Okay.
So for example, I'll be putting in, information about community action partnerships, energy assistance, and,
Right.
information about the independent living program for the youth and young adults and things like that. So people are made aware of what resources are available to them.
Great. That was helpful. Thank you.
Anybody
guess-
else have a share, an update, a question, a
I
win?
guess just to follow up, Arwen, with your question there. So I was invited to join in this call by the Youth Apprenticeship Program through the Idaho Business for Education, which is also what the Idaho STEM ecosystem falls under. And so just thinking through when we're thinking about opportunities for the youth specifically, that's a pretty cool program that's available to them. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but just thinking through those opportunities. A lot of the grant opportunities we have are for folks who are applying for funds for Alice populations. So it's not necessarily a direct, but the youth apprenticeship program would be more of a direct fit there, I think, potentially.
Perfect. Thank you.
Who else? Any other updates, shares?
And I'm Elena over at Idaho Housing and Finance. I'm just transitioning to a new position, so it's my first meeting also. But just an update for Idaho Housing, our wait list right now is at about 23 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're not sure when we're gonna start pulling. It could be a few months still.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yep, thank you.
Have you guys partnered with or have heard any success with the Idaho Home Share program? Do you guys work with them at all?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard of anything about that.
Yeah, it might be worth checking out. I don't know if they're on the call today, but they are from time to time where it's the home sharing, where they pair up individuals that have houses with rooms with people that are seeking roommates essentially or co-sharing a house together. So just want to make sure that wasn't on your radar that it was.
Yeah, thank you.
Other updates? Nikki?
You saw me open my mouth.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's a super important update, but the United Way of North Idaho has an event coming up on the 21st of March. It's our annual awards luncheon where we honor individuals and companies. But most importantly, I don't know, but most importantly, but importantly, we are looking to honor a nonprofit professional and a volunteer of the year. So our nomination season is open. We have the nomination forms up on our website, and I'll put the link here in the chat in just a second. But we would love to have those two nominations for those two award categories, because you all, those of you that are in our Northern Idaho region, I would love to get some nominations from you all.
Thanks, Nikki.
It is the most important. Let's be real. It's the frontline people making it happen.
Yep. Anybody else with an update? Question? Win? Can we end on a win? Somebody share a win with me? Us? Win with us? Anybody? Help? KJ, thank you. But I don't hear you.
says that she's not muted. Must be the microphone.
Yeah. Share the win in the chat. Thank you. Okay, so the other thing.
Safe Passage. I had a question. Safe Passage. I just saw you guys in the newspaper about your certification and your new the therapy dog, and I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, that's at our CAC, our Children's Advocacy Center. We are very fortunate to have Lucy. She is an amazing emotional support animal, and so she helps kids that are doing forensic interviews. And she literally hugs them, loves them, and they spill their story to Lucy, which is sometimes easier than telling an adult. So Lucy is an amazing partner for us.
That's awesome.
It was a very heartwarming article to read about, and
Thank you.
Adorable.
Very cool. Okay, so KJ shared her win is how great it is. We have so many engaged partners to work with to support vulnerable individuals. I love that I have so many people and places to go to try to put together support. So awesome. Excellent. Okay, so the other thing that my ask for all of you, we average about 15 people on this call. And I know sometimes, we go down a little bit in attendance, we go up in attendance, but I'd love to average about 30 people on this call. And I'd love to see more representation from all of the counties. So I know all of you have healthy networks. And so my ask is just shoot the information, whether it's the calendar invite or the invite that goes out with the speaker, or the follow-up that says, hey, here's what we learned about, and say, hey, come join our group for at least one, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but I'd love to double the number here for our group, so we have more of a even better of a roundtable discussion. I think that's everything. Last call for any announcements. All right. Again, if you're interested in getting that assessment, just send me an email and I'll have James send you a link to take the assessment. Super easy, pretty cool. So thank you for everything, for all you do, and we'll see you next month. And by the way, next month we'll have Idaho Nonprofit Center on the call. They have some new programs that they're launching in 2024. So we'll learn about those on our next call. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.